friends, welcome back to this online lecture series on structural physics. As you all know, we have been discussing regarding the durability of concrete, and so far we have discussed regarding the factors affecting the durability, and at the same time we have discussed regarding the types of durability, that is the physical durability and the chemical durability. And under the chemical durability, we have discussed regarding the aspects of the what we can say the chloride attack, the corrosion of the reinforcement, and at the same time we have also discussed regarding a couple of other aspects that are related to chemical durability. In today's lecture, we are going to focus on one more such aspect of chemical durability, that is the sulfate. Right now, if we talk about the sulfate attack, then first of all we need to understand the primary source through which the sulfate is going to be there. So basically, here the literature is saying that the primary source of sulfate is going to be in two forms. First, it is going to be in the soil, and second, it is going to be in the water. Right. So when if we talk about the source of the soil, sulfate in the soil, then it can be said that it is going to be the presence of aluminum sulfate that is going to be there in the soil. Right. And if we talk about agriculture land, then in case of agriculture land, the ammonium sulfates are going to be always present. And if we talk about water, then in that case, the wastewater that is discharged from the industries, the effluents, the sewages, or the fertilizers are going to have the presence of sulfate always in the wastewater that is generated from these types of industry. Right? And along with that, it can be also said that the decay of organic matters in the marshy soils or the marshy lands also will result in the formation of sulfuric acid, which is going to be present in the soil. So as a result of that, sulfate is one of the important minerals which need to be taken care of for the durability of the structure. If it is not properly studied and for proper precautions are not taken, then it can have detrimental effects on the surface of the structure. Right. So if we talk about the process in which the sulfate attack is taking place, or the different reactions or different types of sulfate which can have a detrimental effect on the service life of concrete structure, then basically three types of sulfates here are being discussed over here. Where first is the sulfoaluminate, second is the formation of the gypsum, and third is the magnesium sulfate. Right. So these are three different types of sulfates. If any of these three sulfates are going to be present in the concrete, then as a result of that, the surface life of the concrete is going to be greater. Now again, here we have to remember this thing very well. That is, the prima facie source of this ingression of sulfate into the concrete is going to be the surface of the concrete. That is, if the concrete is going to be porous in nature, then this sulfate is going to be traveling, this medium of the sulfate is going to be travel and reach this interior surface of the concrete. Or if the concrete is going to be permeable in nature, then in that case the possibility is that this foreign material will be able to reach there. So if you are able to control these two things, that is the porosity and the permeability, then you can avoid a lot of issues in the concrete that is happening due to the durability aspect. Right? So when you talk about the sulfoaluminate, that is the formation of sulfoaluminate happens due to the reaction that takes place between the sulfate salt and the C3A content that is present. So as we know that the prima facie, if you look at the ingredients of the cement, then there are four basic ingredients, which are there. That is C3A, C3S, C2S, and C4S. Right? So these four elements are going to be there, but in that case, the content of C3A has to be in a limited manner. Because if the content of C3 is maintained, then automatically some of the issues related to durability of concrete can be avoided. Right? So in the first case, the reaction of C3A and sulfate will result in the formation of sulfoaluminate. In the second case, the formation of gypsum that will take place due to the reaction that is taking place between lime and the lime that is generated at the time of heat of hydration. Right. So as we all know, heat of hydration is the process when cement comes in contact with water, and as a result of that, the heat of hydration is generated, and at the same time, lime is going to be one of the byproducts. Right. So the gypsum is formed due to the reaction of this lime due to the reaction with the lime, and that is also going to have a detrimental effect on the surface. And last is the presence of magnesium sulfate, which is going to be even more dangerous as compared to that of the presence of sodium and calcium. So if either of these three elements are going to be three elements or minerals are going to be present in the concrete, then as a result of that, it is going to have a very detrimental effect on the service life of the surface. So if you look at the certain photographs where the sulfate attack has been found, then there is one photograph where the falling of concrete has taken place and small concrete flakes can be observed on the surface of the concrete. So if you are studying some kind of, you're doing the evaluation of the structure, if you connect with this evaluation of structure where you go to the site and you take certain photographs and you take certain videos and do visual observation. So during the visual observation, if you're seeing such a surface, then you can state that the possibility of sulfate attack being active in this particular case is possible. Similarly, there is another photograph where the spalling of concrete has taken place due to the corrosion of reinforcement. Right? In case of corrosion of reinforcement, you can see that the bars are already what you can say stone, and at the same time the passive layer that is there on the surface of the reinforcement is also broken, and then this was falling of concrete is taken. So these are a couple of indications that will give you an idea regarding the possible type of reaction that has been taking place inside the concrete surface, and the results will be visible on the outside to you in such a manner, right? So now the next question that comes to our mind is how can we control the sulfate? And in that case, as I said, the first and foremost thing is going to be the low permeability of the concrete. Because if you remember, in case of durability also, when we discuss regarding that, what are the different criteria which will result into classifying a particular concrete as durable, then in that case, the first reason that we showed is that the concrete should be dense in nature and having low permeability. So along with low permeability, there are certain other factors which we can control, with the help of which we can control this inhibition of sulfate attack inside the concrete. Where the first is the adequate concrete thickness. That is the provision of adequate, that is the minimum thickness as per the guidelines of IS 456 for beam, column, and slab. And along with this provision of adequate thickness, you also need to keep a care of the concrete cover that you are going to provide, because the concrete cover is necessary to enhance the durability of the structure of the service drive system, because this concrete cover is going to increase the travel path of these foreign materials from the outside surface to the inner core of the concrete. Then high cement content again will be also dependent upon whether the presence of C3A is there or not, because as we have seen in the first slide that C3A reacts with sulfate, and the result of that sulfo eliminates are formed, and due to that the expansion takes. Then low water cement ratio, again very obvious, right? And at the same time, the proper compaction and curing is also necessary, because along with the compaction, if you're doing proper compaction, then void ratios are reduced, then concrete becomes less porous. And at the same time, if proper curing is done, then the movement of moisture from the surface is reduced, and as a result of that, the porosity and permeability, both aspects can be controlled. Then addition of pozzolanic materials such as fly ash, ground slag, and silica fume is also going to be there, because these are going to have large surface area, so it is going to have good amount of intermolecular bonding, and as a result of that, the voids will be filled and the porous nature of the concrete can be nullified. Then last is the use of low content C3A cement. That is very important, because the first point that is responsible for initiation of sulfate attack is the reaction of sulfate that is taking place with C3A. Right? Now, if we talk about the exposure condition, then SIS 456 is mentioning 4 types of exposure conditions, that is mild, moderate, severe, and very severe. Right? And the sources or the concentration of sulfates that is available or that is permissible by IS 456, both in case of soil and water, is listed down. First of all, if we look at the concentration of sulfate that is allowed in soil, then we can say that the range is from 0.1% to 2%. And if we talk about the concentration of water soluble sulfate that is allowed in concrete, then in that case the range is from 150 ppm to 10,000 ppm. So if either the range is more than 2%, then also it is detrimental. If either the range is more than 10,000 ppm in case of very severe condition, then also it is going to be detrimental in. And lastly, if we look at the graph that is there, where the effect of C3A content on the rate of deterioration is shown on the first graph. So as you can see, as the content of C3A is going to increase, similarly the rate of deterioration is also going to increase. So it is almost a linear behavior that you can see over, right? And the second graph is there where the rate of deterioration is controlled due to the addition of the cementitious material, that is the fly ash and silica fume, and the ground grass, that is the slag, right? So when the slag is added, then as a result of that, you can see the rate of deterioration is going to be still persistent, but it is going to take larger amount of time as compared to that of the first graph. So the addition of this cementitious material in concrete is going to help us reduce the effect, that is the detrimental effect that the sulfate attack is likely to cause on this particular surface of the concrete, right? So I hope that you understood the different sources of sulfate that are present in the atmosphere, how it reacts with the ingredients of the concrete, and as a result of that, what are the detrimental effects that you observe on a concrete surface. And at the same time, we have seen the remedial measures through which we can control the sulfate attack in concrete as well. I hope you have enjoyed today's lecture. In the next lecture, we'll be discussing regarding the last aspect of the chemical durability, and That is, we are talking about the alkali aggregate reaction.